This is Jake. Jake just spent $4,000 on a coffee machine. Jake also has $211 in his savings account. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why Jake's brain thinks that's a completely rational decision. Jake makes $52,000 a year. He bought a $4,000 espresso machine to make coffee he could get for $6 down the street. And Jake didn't just buy the machine. Jake named it. It's Gerald. We're not here to make fun of Jake. Okay, we're a little here to make fun of Jake. But here's the thing. Jake's brain isn't broken. Jake's brain is doing exactly what evolution built it to do. And by the end of this video, you might realize you have a Gerald too. Let's define our subject, the YOLO spender. You know one. You might be one. Signs you might be a YOLO spender. Your budgeting app has a notification you haven't opened since March. You've said the phrase, "I'll figure it out," about a decision involving more than $500. You have a buy it now button muscle memory faster than your emergency contact info. Your retirement plan is vibes. Meanwhile, you've got Aunt Carol, who's been reusing the same tea bag since the Clinton administration, sitting on a house paid off in full. Here's the question that actually matters, and it's not, why are YOLO spenders bad with money? It's this. What if living in the moment isn't a character flaw? What if it's a completely different survival strategy? Stick with that. It's about to get a lot less funny and a lot more interesting. Here's where it stops being a joke. Behavioral economists have a term for this: temporal discounting. It's the brain's tendency to value a reward right now dramatically more than the same reward later, even when later is objectively better. In experiments, people will consistently take $50 today over $100 in a year, not because the math is unclear, because the brain doesn't experience future you as the same person as current you. Neuroimaging studies have found that when people think about their future selves, the brain activity looks more like thinking about a stranger than thinking about themselves. Read that again. Your brain treats future you like a different person. So when Jake buys Gerald the espresso machine instead of funding his 401k, his brain isn't malfunctioning. It's prioritizing a person it can verify exists, present Jake, over a person it can barely picture, retired Jake, 40 years away, blurry, theoretical. But that raises the real question. If this is universal brain wiring, why doesn't everyone spend like Jake? Turns out, some people's future self is blurrier than others. And it's not random. Researchers have found a strong link between how vividly someone can imagine their future and how much they save. People who did an exercise where they saw an aged, digitally rendered version of their own face saved more in follow-up decisions than people who saw their current face. The future self stopped being a stranger. It became someone worth protecting. There's also an environment factor. People who grew up in unstable conditions, unpredictable income, chaotic households, financial scarcity, often calibrate toward now because in an unstable environment, later has historically been unreliable. Waiting doesn't pay off if the rules keep changing. That's not weakness. That's a strategy that made sense, somewhere, at some point, for someone. So we've got two forces stacked on top of each other. One, a brain that treats the future self as a stranger by default. Two, a life experience that either sharpens that stranger into a real person or keeps them fog and static, which means the real divide isn't responsible people versus YOLO people. It's whose future self feels real to them and whose doesn't. Here's the part that should make you a little uncomfortable. This isn't just a some people problem. Temporal discounting affects everyone. The same brain circuitry that makes Jake buy Gerald the espresso machine is the same circuitry that makes you scroll for just 5 more minutes before bed, skip the gym for the couch, or say, "I'll start Monday." The YOLO spender isn't a different species. They're just running the most common software your brain ships with, turned all the way up, with the volume on the future self alarm turned all the way down. Which means the uncomfortable question isn't, what's wrong with Jake? It's, on a scale of Aunt Carol to Jake, where does your brain currently have the dial set? And did you actually choose that setting, or did your environment set it for you? So what happened to Jake? Turns out Jake did one thing that actually worked. Not a budgeting app, not a spreadsheet. He set up a photo of himself, aged up, as his phone lock screen, right next to his bank balance. Old Jake looks concerned. Every time Jake unlocks his phone, old Jake is right there, judging him like a disappointed ghost from the future. Gerald the espresso machine is still around, by the way. Jake's not perfect. But last month, for the first time, Jake's savings account had 4 digits in it instead of 3. Progress. Slow, caffeinated, Gerald-adjacent progress. If you made it this far, you might want to go check what your own Gerald is. We all have one. If your brain just quietly called you out, hit subscribe. Curious Human breaks down the psychology behind the weird stuff humans do twice a week.